A tapered cut like that can be really difficult to do, and one thing that can really help with that is to make yourself a tapering jig, just like this right here. How's it going, guys? Welcome back to the Patriot DIY channel. We have several projects going on in the shop right now. We're putting in some plywood on the walls back there, so we'll be doing a video on that. But there's one I wanted to go ahead and talk to you guys about. Back in December, I was working on a project building some Adirondack chairs for my wife. Those turned out great. She loved them. We are going to be posting a video and build plans on how to build these chairs. One thing about those chairs that I built is they required you to make some tapered cuts. As you can see, this board is small at the bottom and it tapers up. These are for the backs of the Adirondack chairs. Now, a tapered cut like that can be really difficult to do, and one thing that can really help with that is to make yourself a tapering jig, just like this right here. You can use a jig like this to make your tapered cuts. It can also be used to joint boards if you don't have a jointer. So stick around, guys. I'm going to tell you step by step how to build this tapering and jointing jig. I'm also going to have some digital plans down in the description below if you want to check those out. But before we do that, guys, if you haven't done it yet, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below, hit that notification bell, and give us a thumbs up. We really appreciate that. Now let's get to it. First thing we need to do is cut the base for our jig down to size. The great thing about this project is that you can just use scrap wood that you have laying around your shop. So I'm going to be using an offcut from some birch plywood. And you can really make this to any size that works for you. Mine is going to be about 30 inches long and about a foot wide. Now we're ready to take this over to the router to route some slots into our base to accept those T-track bolts. And we're going to be doing this in two different steps. And we're actually going to need to make a plunge cut. So first thing we're going to do is go ahead and mark a line on the router fence about 1.5 inches from the center of the bit. That's going to give us a guide to route to. You're also going to want to set your bit to just a little higher than the thickness of the head on that T-track bolt. And then we're very carefully going to hold that board at the line and then drop it down onto the bit. And then we're going to run it along the fence, making a shallow cut into the bottom of our base. I used a 5/8 bit here, but you're going to want to size this to the size of your T-track bolt so it'll fit in there but it won't rotate. And we're going to use those same marks on our fence to cut another slot in the same spot, but this time we're going to cut all the way through. Now what we've done here is made a slot for our 1/4 inch T-track bolt to fit through, and we have a recess on the bottom so the head of that can slide through that recess, but it can't rotate. We're going to do that same thing on both ends of our base. Once we're done with the base, we're going to start on our adjustable arm for our jig. Now for this, we're just using a 2-inch strip of 3/4 plywood. And we're going to be following that same process as we did on the base to cut slots down the length of our arm. Now we're not cutting all the way down the length. We are going to leave about a 2-inch gap in the middle to give that arm a little bit more strength so that it won't flex. Now to finish up our arm, we're going to glue and brad nail a piece onto the end that's going to act as a push block for whatever board we happen to be cutting. Then we're going to attach a bar to the bottom that's going to slide into our miter slots on our table saw. I decided to make mine out of some scrap oak wood that I had. Now you're going to want to measure and cut these so that the thickness is slightly less than the depth of your miter slots on your table saw, and you're going to want to set the width so that it fits tightly into the slot but still slides easily. Once we've got that cut on our table saw, we're going to put a couple small washers down into the miter slot on our table saw to act as spacers, and then we're going to drop that bar that we just made into the slot. I'm gonna put some CA glue onto the top of that and spray the activator onto the bottom of our base. Then we're gonna use the table saw fence as a guide to make sure we get the spacing right, and we're gonna drop our base down onto the table saw. That CA glue does its job. We pull the whole assembly back up. And then we're gonna countersink and put in some short screws to hold it in place. This is nice because your jig can slide freely in the miter slots on your table saw and you don't have to use the fence as a guide. The hardware we're going to be using for this jig is an accessory kit from PowerTech. We have some 1/4 by 4 inch T-track bolts and knobs, and we're going to be using these hold down clamps from ClearStyle. I will have links to all these things in the description below. Now the way we're going to assemble this is we're going to go ahead and put our hold down clamps into the arm. And then our other knobs are going to go through those slots we made in the base and into the arm so we can slide the ends in that notch and create any angle we need to make. Another option, if you're making a lot of the exact same cuts, or if you don't have the PowerTech hardware that we're using, you can just screw the arm down to the base temporarily like we did in this example. All right guys, that is it for how to build your own tapering and jointing jig. Hopefully next time you need to make some tapered cuts for a project, you'll be good to go. Don't forget we are gonna have plans for this in the description below, so make sure you check those out. And if you haven't done it yet guys, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below. Thanks for watching guys. Please like, share, and subscribe. Go build something.